Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's not on my source.
That kind of overdid it.
Well, two of
We
them,
were
the
trying to
reason I
get
found out about it, my son was
hoops and stuff ready for the,
so when he came back, she's not back on,
for this big,
and I go,
I'm struggling to get it finished.
About it, but
And, I don't know. It's okay.
Oh, shoot.
It's not so bad now, but that's how I was last week.
huge gift shop.
I could barely, and I can't sleep, I still can't sleep laying down. So I was working that, that's next week. I'm gonna try to start.
Are you ready in the tech?
Well, the good part is when the couch downstairs has a chase on one side, so I just sleep there. Scroll keeps me from that, so.
so I don't know what the step far away from
I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome to all who've joined us here face to face, and welcome to all who are joining us online. We're glad that you're here. For those of you that may not know me online, my name is Bryan, and my pronouns are he, him. As always, everybody here knows this, but we try to keep the service to 1 hour. Hopefully to be that today. Today is the first Sunday of Advent, and the theme is Adventure Begins with Advent. And we're going to talk about hope. And for next Sunday, I'm hoping I can get this pronunciation right. We have Peace Sunday for Advent, and we will be joined by Ahmed Abu Badria. Okay, from Muslim American Society of Minnesota to talk about peace, specifically an Islamic perspective of peace. So thanks, Carrie, for organizing that. That sounds really awesome. Then the next Sunday, December the 14th, is Joy Sunday. That's my favorite Sunday because I get to wear pink. And so, but for other reasons, it's also the Sunday of Joy. And so we're excited about that. And then the following Sunday is December the 21st, which is Music Sunday. And then before that, I want to rewind a little bit. On December the 19th, Friday, we have our annual winter solstice service that is being put together and led by Dawn and others. So we're really excited about that. The time is still 6:30, correct? On Friday, December the 19th.
Yes, it is here.
Awesome. And if anyone is interested in serving on the speaker planning team, please, I keep saying this every week, please let myself or Gary know. Anybody wants to help us coordinate speakers. Also, thank you to Alice for taking December as the service leader, and January is going to be led by Chuck. Anybody who's interested in doing a service leader position, please feel free to contact me. I'd love to talk to you about that. All right, that's all the announcements I have for now. So anybody else have an announcement that you'd like to share?
Well, the movie night, I think you mentioned it, this is the first Friday of December, and this month it's a comedy. I finally found a comedy that looked suitable.
I didn't mention, I'm glad you said that because it wasn't an announcement, so.
Okay, yeah, so, it's a comedy of a teenage girl who takes some drugs and her 40-year-old self comes to visit her, and then they communicate, and it's all about what would happen to us if we could see the future or not, and how to fix our choices. So it sounds interesting, but it's also a comedy.
Awesome. Getting ready for, the spirit of the holidays, right?
Right.
Other announcements.
It's at Gwendolyn's.
Oh, yes. I guess the location would be important. Other announcements. Well, that's unusual for this season.
Check your newsletter for other events like concerts and such.
Oh, yes. And my blog is up, finally. I took a little bit of a break, but I'm back on it now, so it's on there as well. Well, with that then, I invite us to take a slow, gentle breath and exhale just as intentionally. Separate ourselves from the chaos and the snowstorms all around us. And come into presence with one another as we meditate to this prelude. And now, please remain seated and join me in our opening words and the lighting of the chalice. As the days continue to grow shorter and the nights stretch longer, we gather seeking a small, steady flame of hope. Not the hope that denies the world as it is, but the hope that rises within us when we dare to walk into the unknown together.
We come with open hearts, ready for the journey. We come to remember that adventure begins with Advent.
Advent is not a season of waiting alone. It is an invitation to lean into mystery, to trust the wisdom of darkness, to follow the shimmer of a distant light that guides us toward new beginnings.
In the quiet of winter, we listen for what is being born in us. In the deep night, we search for what still calls us forward.
Each of us carries a spark of justice, a glimmer of compassion, a whisper of courage. Together, these become the first dawn of hope.
Hope begins in the dark, in the courage to take one step, and then another, toward a world made more whole.
We light our chalice this morning as a beacon for the journey ahead, a reminder that even the smallest light can guide us through the longest night. May this flame call us to adventure, invite us to wonder, and kindle in us the hope that transforms.
May this Advent beginning lead us toward deeper love, brighter courage, and the unfolding path of possibility.
And so in the spirit of adventure, possibility, and hope, we light this chalice and say together,
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers, to heal with love, to help with compassion, to bless with joy, to serve you, Spirit of freedom, in the fullness of community.
And now I invite you to rise in body and or spirit and join us in our opening hymn, which is number 16, number 16.
And I will play a short show.
It's 18.
Simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right.
You see it? And in our tradition, our newly revised and coined tradition we started last year for Advent, we light our first candle of this season. As we embark on our adventure of Advent this holiday season, may we calm ourselves and seek hope in the quiet stillness of the darkness, and resist the busyness that our culture seems to demand at this time of year. Here's to hope. And for all of those you that are wondering, our little rabbit named Hope is doing great, and she's enjoying the snow.
This morning, we pause to hold in the heart of our beloved community all those whose daily lives are shaped by caring for another. We lift up the adult children tending to aging parents, navigating memory that slips away, bodies that change, and the quiet grief that comes with watching those who once cared for us now need our care in return. We hold in compassion the partners, siblings, and friends who accompany loved ones living with disabilities, chronic illness, or conditions that limit mobility or independence. And we honor those who walk alongside people in the final chapters of life, offering presence, dignity, and tenderness when the road grows steep. To all who give medications, prepare meals, manage appointments, lift and steady another body, soothe confusion, calm fear, and carry responsibilities that are often unseen, we say, you are not alone. Your labors and love are embodied. Your exhaustion is understood, your courage is cherished, your grief is honored. As a Unitarian Universalist community, we commit ourselves to being a place where caretakers are supported, not depleted, where the load is shared, where respite is possible, and where compassion moves from intention to action. May we remember today and all the days ahead that caregiving is not only a task, it is a sacred vocation, a human offering, a living testament to love that endures. and may our community be a shelter of kindness, a source of strength, and a circle wide enough to hold every caretaker and every person who needs care with tenderness, grace, and hope. May it be so, blessed be.
Now it's the time during our service when you are invited to come forward if you feel moved to do so and light a candle, share a joy and or concern. And at the end, I'll light a final candle for all of those joys and concerns that remain unspoken. And if anybody online would like a candle lit, please chime in and Dawn will light one on your behalf.
Thanksgiving this year we went up to the in-laws. I know last week I said it could be a good or a bad thing. Well, this year we found out that the alcohol is no longer a thing. So it was actually a very pleasant weekend, and thanks to my mother-in-law's new husband, Mike, I think we can attribute all of it to him. Doing great things for my mother-in-law, putting her in a much better place than she was.
Yay.
Can I just do it from?
Yeah, I'll light it for you, sure.
Your words, Don, were so timely. Having been a caregiver and so dependent on this community during that time, but actually last Sunday, while church was happening, my sister-in-law, one of my sister-in-laws died, and her husband has been her caregiver for years. So, yeah, it just felt very appropriate to recognize the caregivers.
This is a joy and a thank you to okay, when I said I'd be the speaker team lead, I thought the hard part was going to be finding people, but I'm getting such nice suggestions. And if this pace keeps up from everybody, it's going to be nice. We'll fill the whole church here with guest speakers. And so, yeah, thank you to everyone who's made suggestions, and everyone else, just keep your eye out for someone you'd like to hear from on a Sunday. And let me know.
This is a joy for a brand new great niece. I don't know where I'm going. Was born on Tuesday in Texas to David and Sarah. So this is for Rhea Jean Porter.
Pretty name.
Yeah, isn't that pretty? And also a shout out to Carrie, who talked me down when we ran into each other at Hy-Vee, and we were both so stressed with holiday grocery shopping and things we couldn't find, and we supported each other, and it was awesome.
We ended up just laughing uproariously and hugging each other right there in Hy-Vee.
Chanting, I hate Hy-Vee, I hate
Well, Thanksgiving is every day for me because I have so much to be thankful for. Thanksgiving, I went to Ingeborg and Claire's house with their 3 darling girls. And first I felt terrible because I said, well, what do you usually do? And he said, oh, we go to the cousin's house. And I went, and you didn't go this year? Yeah, because we wanted to have you here instead. And no, and I said, declare that's terrible. You didn't, I had other things to do. She said, no, this is exactly what we wanted to do. So, and they both said that. This was more fun. And she
Your pictures are still up at the Burnhaven Library.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so
They'll be up through December, so you can see them and ask me. And some people I'm gonna meet some people who want me to go through it with them, and I can do that too, so. But thanks to those who were able to.
Well, I'm thankful for Thanksgiving. It was a joy to be with my sons and daughters-in-law for Thanksgiving, and they loved my carrot cake. I don't know why. It is really good. And then, well, at least they didn't talk about putting me in a nursing home. Because for the last 6 months or so, they want me to know when I'm going to be leaving, and then, everything lined up, and they just didn't understand how it works. And so I don't know if that's happening to anybody else, but it was a little more than I wanted for them to be talking about. And I didn't have much to offer about it. How am I not going to know? If anybody, we don't know. So it is what it is.
Is there anyone online?
Yeah, Sherry just put one up.
Okay.
She would like us to know her mom will be having a major surgery on Tuesday, and hoping that all goes well for the surgery, and wishing for the patience for her during post-surgery recovery.
So I'm lighting one for me. I'm having open heart surgery on December 23rd. They're replacing a valve. So please keep me in your thoughts, especially between Christmas Eve and New Year, because I'm not a patient person. And all I can do is lie there. And just let my body heal, So if you could think of me that week and send me some patience, that would be great.
So you're going to be in the hospital?
I'll be in the hospital for 4 to 7 days, so.
Oh, good. I think people in the hospital.
Yeah.
These days, that was concerned.
Oh my gosh.
Joy for me. Also for Bruce. Our car was broken, so before Bruce went to New York, we didn't have a vehicle. So Bruce went to New York and drove his car back from New York here, right before the Thanksgiving. So I'm so happy that he is able to do so, and now we have wheels.
And now I'll light a final candle for all the joys and concerns that remain unspoken. May we know that whatever befalls us in life, we are held in the loving embrace of this community. And now we say together, for all the joys and concerns, both spoken and unspoken,
We hold you in our hearts.
I apologize if I'm a little stiff, but I'm still paddling this broken rib thing, so.
Wow.
It's so much fun. And I wish I had slipped on the ice, but it was just mud. There was no reason. I'm just clumsy. All right. That's my unlit candle. I have 2 readings to share with you today. The first one is called Finding Hope in the Darkness by Sue Hetherington. It's strange, but it is often in the dark times that real hope becomes brighter. When things are easy and flowing, hope and optimism can be confused. Yet in the darkness, the glimmers of hope stand out more clearly. Perhaps because hope is not within our control, we cannot buy or manufacture it to order. It is the still, small voice in the middle of the night when we've tried everything else. Or the unexpected words of a friend that speaks right into our situation without them realizing their significance. Familiar words that reveal deeper meaning and open our eyes to seeing the hope traced in the stars, like the Magi, in all the ancient prophets and astronomers. The second is a poem which is called Rumors of Light by Gideon Hugh. The hope that's lingering beneath the dark horizon, the hallowed spark hiding within the folds of the night, the breath of wonder poised above our aching souls. These bitter, beautiful mysteries, these dreams of dawn song, swimming through the trees, these strange rumors of light. So 4 years ago this weekend, my family and I embarked on this journey into hope out of the darkness that some people call Florida. And I know many people enjoy Florida, especially in the wintertime. But it was, well, this almost like, it was the darkest of nights. No, that's from a novel, right? It was pure hope, because we literally had lost almost everything except for each other because of what had happened in Florida. And if you have time and you want to hear that whole story, we'll have a beer and we'll talk about it. But I want to talk about hope because we got a U-Haul and we headed to Minnesota without even having a real place to live. And thankfully, my seminary, United Seminary, allowed us to move into the seminary apartments for a while until we got our lives together, whatever that means. And it seems so long ago that happened. But it was just 4 years, and it dawned on me on Thanksgiving, because it was actually literally this year, the date of Thanksgiving, that we moved here. And we did move here. We left on Friday morning of that year after Thanksgiving, after having not really celebrated any sort of Thanksgiving meal, rather than just packing, and then some treats, because I'm partial to treats. But it was an interesting adventure. And then we became filled with anxiety, with uncertainty, but at the same time, we literally had nothing but hope, except for each other. And I think that we couldn't have made a better decision. Despite snow, despite the almost 10 inches of snow that almost kept me from coming here today. But it has been such an amazing adventure. a journey into what I kind of had a snapshot of because I'd lived here 20 years ago, but I had lived as a student, which is different from living, regular, whatever that means. But hope is what we fed off of. Hope was our fuel. And that's one of the reasons why that I tend to share that story around the first Sunday of Advent. Now, of course, as we remember from last year, Unitarian Universalists have sort of revisioned what Advent is, but at the same time hearkening back before Christianity when Advent, not called Advent, was already existing, usually between Samhain and the solstice, as the light grows dimmer. And what I'd like to actually then share with you are, pardon the expression, 3 points of light. The first one is, thinking about Advent, where does this adventure invite us? How does it inspire us to live with and in the darkness while trying to overcome uncertainty and fear? What is that like? Well, I have just shared that I kind of know firsthand experiences, but I'm sure everyone in this room has those experiences of uncertainty and fear. Well, the first thing that I think hope inspires us to do on this adventure is to think about waiting, which is what Advent actually means, if you didn't know that. I think I've mentioned that before. It just literally means waiting. But waiting is kind of like patience. In fact, often they go hand in hand because I remember, even when I was a kid, the impatience that I had on Christmas Eve waiting to open up my presents, right? Impatience is a thing, and waiting is fraught with impatience. Just like when we made the journey here, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to have a real apartment, not living in student housing at my age. I was impatient. But only time will take care of that, and perseverance. But at the same time, hope is not one of those things that while we wait, we try to be naive about, because hope often is accompanied with disappointment, along with that impatience. And those are not mutually exclusive things, because one of the issues that we hear an awful lot when people talk about hope is they talk about all the positivity. Be positive. Let's hope. Hope springs eternal. We've heard that. But we also, in the waiting, have to really understand and embrace the darkness, which often involves things like fear, uncertainty, disappointment, setbacks, things like that. Hope is quite important. But at the same time, we have to work not to be so naive to think that hope is going to be the thing that gets us somewhere without doing a little bit of work. And so that leads me sort of to my second point, and that is hope is paradoxical. And how do we live in that paradox of, okay, it's really dark right now. And for many of us, that is the situation of our lives existentially. And how do we live with the paradox that hope is always there? Hope is always somewhere, even though it's elusive. How do we live with the paradox that, things seem really bad right now? Now, I also want to make sure that I put a disclaimer in there that I'm not really saying that darkness is bad. I'm just saying that darkness is often a teacher that helps us embrace hope. And one of the things about the first point about being in that state of waiting is not living, as I'm sure all of us have done at some point, with a carrot at the end of our journey. Like, oh, well, if I just keep working harder, I'm going to get this. Most of my life was spent doing that. And one of the dangers of thinking about hope during Advent is to focus all our energy on the light that will return after the solstice. But if we project all of our energy there, we don't allow this time to teach us. That's the paradox of we want to live in hope, but at some point we have to sit down and really settle with ourselves this idea of, okay, we have to exist in darkness, because without darkness we wouldn't appreciate the light. You've heard this kind of phrase before. But it's even more than that, because hope is dangerous. As we know, for all of us, hope can be paradoxical in that it's so dangerous that we hope and hope and hope, and then all of a sudden we're almost catastrophically disappointed. And I use my own story again to say, when I was in Florida, we had, gotten ready to start our farm and all of that stuff, and we were so hopeful, and then everything just sort of fell apart. But there was lessons in that. There are lessons in the darkness, but we have to stop. We have to listen. We have to watch. We have to pause. Even in the busyness of shopping for the holidays, which causes lots of frustration, because society demands of us some sort of busyness of this season. I mean, most of us are already overscheduled for the holidays. We've got all kinds of plans. But I challenge us in that paradox of busyness to do what is actually natural during this time of waning light, is to stop or slow down if you don't want to stop, or try both, and be with yourself and be with each other, just for the purpose of being with each other and with yourself, with no ulterior motive. That's sometimes hard. Which leads me to my third point about Hope Sunday in Advent, and that is the time originally conceived of in ancient cultures. This time of waning light was a time for introspection, reflection, looking inside ourselves to find the things that we need to shed, the things that we need to let go of. And then when Christianity adapted Advent, they actually likened it very similarly to Lent. Lent, of course, is a time of giving up certain things. Now, originally, the reason why they did that is because during Lent, which is in the late winter, early spring, people have often run out of provisions, so we have to give up some stuff until the spring bounty returns. But in Advent, we've just harvested. We've just, I canned so many apples. I don't know how many apples I'm going to eat this winter, but we had a bountiful crop of apples despite the wind. And we've prepared for this time of holiday. But the challenge really is, in this time of hope, where we sit with ourselves in the darkness, not seeing it as negativity, but rather introspective moments of work, of self-work. Now, often when I'm around certain people, like my family, and I say, we have some self-work to do, I get groans. Nobody wants to do self-work, but we have to. And this leads me to your vocabulary term for today. And I've been trying to work with this myself, so I'm bringing this confessionally to you. The word is intransigence. Intransigence. I can barely say it. That's how much I don't like it. All right? Intransigence is one of the issues that we all deal with. And it doesn't matter if you're liberal or conservative or whatever, we have our mindset, and it's very difficult often to open ourselves to listen and learn from each other and from the world. Because society, just like it's demanding us to be busy this season and spend lots of money to stimulate the economy, intransigence also works very well to divide us. And my postulate is that transigence is the epidemic that's plaguing our larger society, not only in this country, but in the world, because intransigence just means the inability to open yourselves to change. But see, I think that the time of diminishing light, this time of darkness, living in hope and listening and learning and spending time with ourselves will open our hearts to the possibility of change. No one likes change. Well, most people don't like change. And most people don't like self-work. But what hope demands of us is for us to search ourselves and not only shed those things that are holding us back, but also to think about somebody else's viewpoint and give them time and open your hearts to the possibility of changing just a little bit. Just a little bit. Not everything. There are things that we hold dear, and I'm not asking or suggesting that you change those things that you hold most dear. But there are things that we should consider when we think about other ideas that are beyond our scope of imagination. Now, that's all abstractness. Let me give you some concreteness. One of the pieces that often I'm finding myself being challenged with is by living in a rural context in Minnesota. I'm surrounded by people with whom I don't agree about a lot of things. But because I'm trying continually to lay aside my intransigence, which is, if you know anything about me, you know I'm pretty opinionated about a lot of things. So that's hard. But to try to open my heart to understand the situations and the plights around me helps to create for me an openness that I've never really experienced before. Because the people down the street may not agree with who I am as a person. But you know what? The people down the street come over and help cut down trees that fell and destroyed much of our property. Well, they didn't really destroy the property. They destroyed the look of the property, because I love trees, but that's a different story. And the people around me who may not agree with my political stances on things will still come and say, "Is there anything that you need?" I have people that show up and say, "Is there anything that I can do to help you get through this winter?" Because we know that you're from Florida. Now, many people are just now getting to know us because, you know, Minnesotans take a while to warm up to people. And so I think they're looking at it as if we just moved here, but, you know. And, I mean, people are just awesome. Community is amazing. And even the people that we disagree with can still profoundly love us in ways that we can't possibly imagine. And many of you that, communicate with me hear so many stories about how I'm continually surprised about the community in which I live, where people come together and do things for each other that I don't think I could have ever really imagined to this level. Of, like the feed store owner in my town that gets all the feed for us. I think I shared with you that she lost her daughter, and it was a very sudden. She'd lost her battle with depression, and it was just really difficult. And I mean, people just volunteered to work at the feed store and just take care. I know this because they just took care of everybody else's needs to give her a break. And these are people from all different backgrounds. Like, she's very ardently Roman Catholic, but like in a way that I really appreciate, because she gives of herself so much. And people saw that and said, and continued to see that, and so they said, hey, what can we do to help? And then, of course, I had to go help, because I'm not just going to be the only one not helping. That's just what we do. And if I let intransigence continue to plague me, I won't open myself to that, to be around people that don't think like me, that don't hold the same values that I hold. And that's also a really important lead-in for next Sunday, because, you know, there is this thing called Islamophobia in this country. And I know in this community, we're not plagued by that. But I invite you, when you hear next Sunday different ideas about peace, to open your hearts and understand how we can come together instead of be divided. And in fact, the entire season of Advent, I invite us into that. Is it maybe a new word, anti-intransigence? That's a lot of stuff. I don't want to go there. Let's just be transigent, opening ourselves to compromise and to understanding things through the introspection that Advent leads us into. Slowing down, seeking from within a new energy, a new respect for the darkness, a time of calming ourselves and thinking about those things that are holding us back from reaching out and building more and more community in the most unlikely of places. And so, let us begin this adventure. Let's have a fantastic holiday season, but let's do it in a spirit of hope and learning and openness. May it be so. Comments, questions?
Well, you sparked a thought when you talked about anti-Islamic trends. I really had, one of the main reasons I did this whole program at the library is that it's a very large Somali community. And here I come in, you know, the white girl with all the pictures of Africa, and I thought it'd be a good way to like bring people together. And so I made it an effort when I was in there, and I'd meet, you know, students or other people that I'd say, you know, watch for a notice, I'm gonna have a program, you know, these are my pictures, blah, blah, blah. And they all seemed, yeah, I said, tell your friends, yeah, we'll come and everything. And nobody came, and that, I thought, that's really strange. And then, as we were leaving, Carol, who was there, my wonderful helper, she told me what Trump had just, I had said the word, I'm sorry, what had been said about the Somalis in Minneapolis.
Oh.
And all of a sudden, no wonder they didn't come. They're probably hiding in their homes, scared to death. If I was them, yeah.
You knew what the latest was, I don't know if you, I read it this morning before I came here about their discontinued the program that protects them.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and, yeah, she said, and can't follow him or listen to him, but she said, he actually talked about just deporting all immigrants of color, regardless of, you know, their status. And I thought, and you know, those who were there, and you heard Ngabo, he's been a citizen for ages, wonderful family, you know, total good. The people who escape things that he escaped, like genocide, are the type of strong people that we need here. And he could get picked up tomorrow. Anyway. So the question, go back to that when you said intransigence, I thought, oh, it's too big a word, I'll just call it stuck.
Yeah.
Being
Thank
stuck.
you, that's way better.
And then the opposite is being open. So, you know, we have open hearts here. How do you open other people's hearts?
Mm.
And I debated difficulty about a number of people in my neighborhood, because I gave everybody invitations, but I thought, I don't want that person to come because I know he's racist, and I don't want her to come, but if I don't invite them, and I was really struggling with that, but then on Thanksgiving, when I was very open with Claire and Gabo about that, I said, I just don't, and they both said, invite them. Maybe they'll learn something. They probably won't come, but if they do, maybe they'll learn something. And like I say, that they are they have so much grace that they are so accepting and willing to face that kind of racism. Of course, the people didn't come, but one of them did get back to me. She hadn't gotten my email because they changed, but she said, I really feel bad that I missed it. So she is going to meet me there, and we're going to go over the pictures and stuff. But, you know, she's the type of person I wanted there for the experience and to hearing him sing and stuff. So just gotta keep trying.
The feminist movement was responsible for creating an adage that I remember so well from my seminary experience, because really hadn't studied about feminism a lot until I went to seminary, which is interesting to study that in seminary, right? But I found that really awesome, and it's one of the, I can't remember who said it first, but relationships change everything. And I find that just living in my community and being who I am, and just not shying away from being around the people in a community is of itself pretty transformative. Not intransigent, but it's transformative. And I know that, like, I make it a weekly stop now to go to the food shelf, and you know, there's a common ground there. There's not a lot of people that agree about anything, but they do agree about feeding the people that need to be fed. and you know, we're looking for that common ground and just showing up.
I've been doing a lot of reading lately because I feel so frustrated, or have felt so frustrated about people who don't think the way I think about things. And it's something I read about trying to understand that the way people believe, what people believe is filling something lacking in themselves, that these beliefs that people cling to, so they're really part of their psyche, and trying to change people who are filling this hole with their beliefs is not really possible. And so the counter to that is to try and understand what it is in them that their belief system is filling within them. And that has helped me so much. Looking at the situations and the differences, because it humanizes them, because I'm sure my beliefs are also filling something in me. And so that's something that we have in common, even though what we're using to fill those empty spaces is very contrary to each other. I don't know if I explained that very well, but it's definitely helped me be more open to other people in spite of their beliefs.
So this week I talked to a dear friend who is a spiritual counselor. I've known her for quite a while. And she does retreats all over the place, and she's spent more than a year in silence at different retreats in her life for a whole year. Anyway, so she said something that stuck with me. And it was that someone that she learned from said that when we have judgments and judging people is the kind of the problem, and it is to go inside and allow that person to be who they are, and then that takes it away from you wanting them to be different. And so I've been trying to do that with a few things, and I don't know if I'm making any progress, but it was it just stayed with me that judging is the problem in the world. And so anyway, make that what you will.
Well, I invite us to continue the conversation over treats. There are treats, right?
There are so many treats.
Okay.
I don't know who brought that, but I talked Linda. You brought it?
Yeah, I just, never mind.
We'll talk about it over treats.
Yeah, well, I have leftovers from my event, so you know.
So I invite you to rise as you are able, or in body and spirit, to join us in our closing hymn, which is number 18.
Which is very close to 16.
Yes, very close to 16. It should be just a page over.
I play the whole song and
pain of my soul, and takes away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down, sinking down, sinking down, when I was sinking down, sinking down, when I was sinking down beneath my sorrow's ground, friends to me gathered round. Oh my soul, friends to me gathered round. Oh my soul, to love and to all friends I will sing, I will sing. To love and to all friends I will sing. To love and to all friends who pain and sorrow mend, with thanks unto the end, I will sing, I will sing. With thanks unto the end, I will sing.
So as we move from this place today, as we move with our eyes on hope, may we embrace our inner reflections and be open to change and transformation in this season that is so, so filled with hope. Go in peace. Be seated. By the way, before we eat treats, I just forgot one announcement. This is, I told you about going to the food shelf. If anybody knows of anybody that has extra egg cartons, our surplus eggs, especially the smaller ones that we don't sell, we donate them to the food shelf, but I don't get those egg cartons back. So if you ever have any extra egg cartons, please feel free to bring them and we'll feed people. That's what we do.
So those could be the paper bags.
The paper ones or the styrofoam ones, either one.
Oh, either one.
Any in the
Sure.